All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the webinar that I'll be doing. I'm going to go ahead and get started and let people in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and let people in the room and get started. Okay. And while I'm doing that, let me go ahead and turn on some things here. All right. Let me go ahead and admit everybody into the room. Welcome, everybody that is joining in. Welcome everyone to the webinar. I'm going to be presenting today about some of the biggest mistakes that we see in the admissions process. It's great to see everybody on. I'm also going to be streaming this on our Facebook page. So if you do know anyone that may want to join, you can let them know our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/college shortcuts. And they can find us there too. I'm also going to go ahead and share my screen in terms of the slides that I want to go over today, just to give you a little bit of a background about us, and also just to share a little bit about the different things I want to talk about today. That way you have an outline and you have a sense of what we want to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as well. And to make sure that everything is working from a technical perspective, I'd love to hear in the chat. If you can hear me and see me, go ahead and type in yes into the chat box. This is where we can absolutely talk. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put it in there. And then also go ahead and let me know where you're from, what city, and what grade your kid is in. And also let me know why you're here. What made you want to come here on your evening to learn a little bit about college admissions? So just wanted to hear from all of you guys. Okay, so it sounds like technically everything is working from a technical perspective. Awesome. And I know a lot of people are going to be joining as they come on as well. So not a problem. I'll go ahead and keep the wait list here open. All right, great. So thank you, Monisha. Thank you, Hema. Okay, awesome. We've got a junior. Nice to see you. All right, and a quick hello to everybody. Hi, Advika. Hi, Altaf. Hi, Anna, Farah. Hi, Hema. Hi, Sian. Hi, Jashida, Monisha. Hi, Neela, Pamela, Parul, Ross, and Sai. So got quite a few of you guys on today, and I know there's a lot of other people still joining, but thank you so much for taking the time. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. It looks like we've got a lot of juniors on the line. Okay, Altaf, we've got a senior, we've got a seventh grader. So a good mix of people, which is really cool. If you see me looking this way, that's because that's where my Facebook is while I am chatting. So I may look at both screens a little bit here and there. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in. So a little bit about us at College Shortcuts. I've been doing this for over 18 years. This has been my life mission to help students in the college admissions process find their passion, figure out what do they want to do with their life, and then get into the right programs that help support that dream. So that's what I do at College Shortcuts. I'm the CEO, I'm the founder. I started this company. Little background about me, I went to both Rice and I got my master's at UPenn, which was a dream of my mom that she would have one child that would go to UPenn. So I hit that bucket for her. My dad went to IIT, moved here in the 70s, and really wanted to provide the best life for us. But when it came to the college admissions process here in the US, he realized it was extremely difficult and different than what he did when he applied to IIT, which was all about scores and being at the top and things like that. And what most parents don't realize is that in the US, while it is important to have good grades, there's more to the process. So I'm going to be breaking down a little bit about what that looks like when it comes to the admissions process. So a little bit about us, when it comes to our mission and why we're here, our goal is to really help students from high school by college by pairing them with like-minded mentors. From our perspective, we have found that having a mentor by your side can make all the difference when it comes to the admissions process. And we've been featured in a lot of different places, from Entrepreneur Magazine, ABC, Fox, CBS, NBC, and US News World and Report. I've been interviewed at each of these. And so for some of our South Asians, we've been on Indo-American News, Voice of Asia, and more. You can find that type of information in my interviews at collegeshortcuts.com on the press page. But we've really helped a lot of families in this process. And, it's really not about myself. It's really about the legacy that I've built, which is my kids. And I say my kids because every one of the kids that joins College Shortcuts really becomes one of our kids and part of our family. So Students have been accepted into all sorts of schools from Stanford, Penn, Harvard, MIT, University of Chicago, Dartmouth, Georgetown, UNC, Johns Hopkins, Rice. We've helped students get into every UC school, every Texas school. We've helped students get into Rutgers, tech schools such as Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, California Tech, right? So lots of different colleges. We work with all types of students, and I want to be clear about that. We work with kids that are top 10%, vying for BSMDs or Ivies. We work with students that are top 50% that are looking at state schools or local. From our perspective, it really is about the student and how to help them in the process. And for the families that are watching this today, you're going to be in the top 1% of applications just because 99% of people typically don't take this type of time to really understand what it means to stand out and learn about this process. So let me talk to you about the biggest problem in admissions, period. And I'll go through a series of problems and I'll be very clear and direct so you know what is going on from my perspective in 2024. But the number one biggest issue that we see in admissions is this. Typically at a local high school, you've got 500 students to one counselor, and that means on average 38 minutes per student with counselor. So that means per year, you're getting roughly half an hour in guidance. So that's 2 hours of time in a process that honestly takes upwards of 100 hours or more in terms of prep. You're getting this much time for guidance into something that's going to cost usually $50,000 to $85,000 or $90,000 a year. So upwards of a $500,000 investment. And so this is what we see to be one of the biggest problems is that usually counselors are more focused on, hey, let's pick your classes, but they're not sitting there trying to figure out your passion. And I recently spoke with a high school counselor about this, and they said, look, I would love to spend more time with my students, but I can't do it when I have to write every student a letter of recommendation. I have to make sure every student is, going through their process. And honestly, my focus is the bottom 20%, ensuring that they actually apply to college. So really, where do students not get the help they need is at their local school. So what I'd love to do for a moment is here in the chat, I would love to hear how many students are in your child's grade right now, just to get a sense of how many students there are. And if we're talking to students, parents with public schools kids or private school kids, I'd love to hear how many students are currently in the grade. Because typically, again, like I said, you've got 500 students to one counselor. So Altaf said 900 students in a grade. And that's a lot of students, 900 kids. And so the big thing is how are we going to shape 900 kids? I can't even imagine. It's so much work. So here's some of the symptoms of the problem of not getting enough guidance. One, you and your child are not crystal clear on how the application process works. All the supplemental essays, typically on average, a student that works with us writes a 20 to 30 page document. And so students are pretty stressed out. Two, they're not even clear about what schools they want to go to. I was recently speaking with a student who wasn't sure where they really wanted to go, wasn't sure what they really wanted to do. That's number three. Still not sure what they want to major in, or if they are sure, they haven't really shown why they're interested in that. Or four, you're just not sure your kid's even going to get in your number one choice or even top three choices. You're not understanding the process or how it works. If you feel any of these symptoms, go ahead and type it into the chat, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And just to let you guys know, this is a live webinar, so participation is key. I would really appreciate it if you chatted with me a little bit. Let me know what symptom it is that you may be feeling in this process, because we know that this can be very complicated. It has gotten more complicated than 10 years ago. It has gotten more competitive than 10 years ago. Students that could get into top schools wouldn't get in today. So we all know it is a very, very competitive process. All right, so let's take a look. So Altaf said 900 students and number one, not crystal clear on the application process. Monisha, overwhelmed by the number of schools they have to apply. Totally, Monisha. On average, if a student is top 10% of their school or all A's, honors AP type of kid, SAT or ACT score within that top frame, typically the minimum is 15 colleges, just letting you know. Because most of those students are putting at least 6 to 7 reach, like 50% of their list is reach, and then the rest is target and safety. We've worked on packages as large as 20 schools, which is the max capacity of Common App. We've had families do 25 colleges, where they also have the UC system, the Texas system as well. So it is a lot of schools, Manisha, if you've got a really driven student. And even if you have a student in the middle, you could also have students applying to a lot of state schools. So it is a lot more. The average is typically 12 to 15. Especially if they want to leave their city or state. Jashida says 1 and 4, not clear about if they're going to get in or the application process. And that can be definitely very challenging. All right, so let's get into it. What are the things they're looking for in the admissions process? They're looking for, one, the GPA, right? Like, we don't want to send a student to a college where if they're not really academically rigorous in their classes and then you send them to college, you're going to end up with a student that fails out first semester. We've seen it. So many families talk about it on Facebook. I'm part of a lot of college groups, and I see that where, the student was not prepared, not ready to leave the house yet. And so the GPA can make a big difference when it comes to the academic classes you select, the types of classes you select based on the major you're interested in. And so planning really matters in that process. The second is the SAT, ACT score. So here's the one that gets a little touchy. Everyone during the last few years said, oh, it's test optional. People are still saying test optional. But what we've seen over and over is that now, in today's world where people are doing a lot of things, people are also taking the SAT and ACT. And we do offer test prep coaching, just to let you know, for our students. And students that submit a score that is impressive within the range of what that college is looking for has a higher probability of getting in than the student that omits their score. Typically, the assumption is that if you omit your score, it's that you didn't do well on the test at all. I had a student that we were just talking to recently who was like, yeah, I've made all A's in class, but when I took the ACT, I got a 22. So I'm just not going to submit my scores. Well, in that case, probably not. And if you're a senior, you've kind of run out of time. You've got one more test left. And at this point, it's kind of a lost cause. Test prep needs to happen end of 10th grade, beginning of junior year. And so we've got a lot of our students right now prepping for the ACT in September. We've got SATs coming up in the fall. And it's really important to get preparation for that. Typically, we see students that are preparing at a minimum of 30 hours of test prep, upwards of 50 with us. And that's because there's so many sections on these exams. And this score can either easily help you get in or hurt your chances. So we know that the first two buckets are the ones that most parents know a lot about. The last two buckets are the buckets called resume and activities and well-written essays. And this is the part that I would call is the kind of the ambiguous part of the process for a lot of families. And I'm going to go into some of the problems that I find and the biggest mistakes in these last two buckets today, so you can understand really what the issues are. But I want to take a moment to take a high-level viewpoint. So one of the biggest problems we're seeing, and I know this is a graph from last year, and I'm sure it's been updated, but as we know, AI has entered the market, and jobs are getting replaced by AI, or people are getting laid off because they don't have certain skills. And this is the biggest problem I see in the students that we are working with today compared to 15 years ago. Students can be very driven, book smart, technical, but they lack communication skills, the ability to speak to adults properly, shake hands, write follow-up emails, communicate effectively, take their hunger and drive and translate that into opportunities for themselves. They expect things spoon-fed to them, or they're playing video games all day, or they're highly introverted, or they're shy. And then we lean on those words to allow these students to continue to have these types of non-trained skills, and then somehow expect them to get into a top school where 70,000 students are applying for 2,000 spots, meaning 35 kids are applying for one spot. And that student that gets into that spot is both passionate, technical, has soft skills, has shown leadership skills, research papers, communication skills, and they tend to be more extroverted. They tend to have charisma, they interview well. And these are the types of qualities as well that we are seeing are important in the job market. And so I wanted to bring this kind of high level view because where do these skills start? Where do the beliefs about who you are start? It starts pretty much as a teenager. So if the thought is, oh, I'm just really shy, or I'm an introvert, or I don't like speaking, well, you can say that, but at some point, if you want to be the person leading the company or leading the boardroom or managing a team or having the human aspects that matter versus being a person that just types and does tech all the time, which will be replaced, then you've got to start working on those skills. And that's a big thing that I work on heavily with teenagers today that are soaked in video games, soaked in social media, soaked in their introverted selves and not getting into colleges. And I know this is a touchy topic because it's very hard for people to think that you can shift or change your personality. But the truth is you can. You can actually shift into a gear when it is requested of you or required. And most of you parents don't realize this, but you guys do it every day. Every day. Every day that you get back from work, there's something called the second gear that my moms and dads know. It's when you take your bag down, you walk into the house, and your second job gets turned on. And in that job, it requires you to have emotional intelligence, patience, lots of patience for my teenage parents, lots of patience. The ability to know when to speak and when not to speak, so you don't blow anything up in your house. And that second shift that you don't even realize you do naturally is huge. These are the types of things that our kids are not learning, those soft skills, that EQ, that IQ, all that kind of stuff. And so when parents say things, I was on a call yesterday with a dad who was like, look, my kid is absolutely MIT material. He's all A student, book smart, you name it. And I said, great. We've also noticed in mentorship sessions, we have to ask him multiple questions to get answers. We have to pull things out of him. And the truth of the matter is, when you go to MIT and you interview, they're not going to pull things out of you. They don't need to. They've got another 34 other kids that are ready to be interviewed that have their pitch ready. So this is the big thing I think that people don't think about that absolutely matters. And it also translates in the admissions process. The second biggest problem I see, no clear narrative built in high school. Students think they know what they want to do, but they have nothing to show for it. I had a student today that said, I really am passionate about education. I'm like, awesome, me too. I love education. Love being an educator. I love working with kids. I love it. And I'm like, so tell me, like, what have you done, senior student? What have you done to showcase your love for education? They're like, well, I volunteer, I do community service, I play tennis. And I'm like, okay, why do you want to do education? Like, I'm still confused how that matches. You have 4 years. Like, did you volunteer with low-income students and tutor? No. Okay. Then what did you do? Nothing, actually. I'm like, so how do you plan on writing a 500-word essay about why you're interested in education? Her response was, I really love kids. I'm like, tell me a person who doesn't love kids. Tell me. Maybe some parents on the line. But the truth is, that's not a unique answer. There's nothing on the resume to show for it. And then what are you going to do when you have to write like 15 essays explaining what you want to major in, what you want to study in, and why? Long gone are the days of the well-rounded student. Most people think, let me put my kid in a sport, taekwondo, tennis. Check. Let me put them in a club, HOSA, check. Let me make sure they go to temple and do dance and things. Culture, check. Let me make sure that they're doing some courses, check. And then all of a sudden they think this equates to the perfect student at a top school. But nowhere does it actually show passion or interest or clear story from A to B, what they actually want to do. And so what people don't realize is that they're looking for a well-rounded class of students. So they want a well-rounded group of 2,000 kids. So that means within the 2,000, they've got their comp science, they've got their engineers, they've got their business, they've got their political activists. These are pointy, unique angles that are clear narratives. So each student is pointy. I'm the kid that loves fencing. I have a kid named Ethan who loves fencing, right? That's my kid for fencing. I've got this other student I worked with last year who loves football, got in for football. I've got my other student that loves engineering, my other kid that loves to build drones. These are unique angles. So when you don't have a clear narrative and you're kind of all over the place, they don't know where you go. Third big thing that I see. Any questions? Feel free to chat in the chat box. Farah put this emoji. This is the oh no emoji. I love it. Oh no. It's okay. I'm here to help you. All right. So third problem, essays. Students write essays that are generic, have mottos and quotes, and they completely miss the pitch. I'm going to see if I can pull up an essay. Let me see if I can pull up an essay to show you what I mean by that. Because some of them are just so, yeah, let's see. Let me see if I can pull one up for you to show you. I have to show you kind of an essay that's not very good. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to kind of copy and paste over example of an essay that literally is generic and does not answer the prompt. Let me see if I can copy it over. Here it is. Okay, so here's an example. The one aspect that immediately stands out to me about Columbia, apart from all the other universities, is the accepting, inclusive community. Guys, that's not unique to Columbia. Columbia stands out for a nurturing environment, not unique to Columbia. Every college nurtures, in which students advocate for what they believe in and take action. So do other places like Georgetown and other universities where people are activists through protests or creating organizations. This is a very rare trait in the university system. No, it is not. And it gives me hope for the future because we are the future. The environment that Columbia sets up for students allows them to flourish in a place where they can learn how to use their voices and fight for change. Any organization, any college can do that. This extremely unique and inspiring trait of the university is something I hope to be part of and contribute to. I'd love to hear from you what you think of that essay. What do you think? Do you think that's very unique? And let me tell you what the prompt was for that essay. The prompt was, why are you interested in attending Columbia? We encourage you to consider the aspects that you find unique and compelling about Columbia. This is how students are writing today. Generic. We're the future. Ugh. This is what I call that essay. No good. So this completely misses the pitch. This is the part, this is the essay where you pitch what you've done and how Columbia matches you and what are the 3 top things specifically at Columbia that would be perfect for you. This kid, just to give you a sense, very smart student, very smart student. This student has had internships, 2 internships. This student has written a research paper. This person has attended an Ivy League summer program. They've done community service, dance, DECA. They've been leader of things, and this is how they wrote the essay. So I'm just sharing that because I think so many people think like, oh, this must have been written by a kid that, may not be at the top or may not know how to, do this exactly, or they're not super smart. To give you a sense, they are in all honors classes, AP classes. This is a student that is at a very top school out of New Jersey. Smart student. I'm pulling up the resume, everything that we've seen here, lots of great things. But the student does not hit the pitch. Altaf said, generic Primal said, it's not detailed and not being unique enough. It's not unique. The question is about unique. It's not unique. Big problem. We see this every single day. Just to give you a sense, teenage students' writing has gone down at a drastic pace compared to the last 15 years. 15 years ago, when I was doing essays with students, their writing was good. I don't know what's going on in the school system, but no one knows how to write anymore. We think it's due to social media. We think it's due to the lack of reading going on and the lack of good writing examples that students have. But students don't know how to write anymore. And so we are also having to train them on that. The second big thing that happens, students regurgitate their resume on their essays and drone on and on about the resume instead of giving moments, emotional experience, learning lessons, or pitching who they are and how it connects to their college experience. So a lot of times what happens is they drone on and on about what they've done instead of really being clear about what they've done and why they're interested in something. And so that's a real big problem. I'm going to show you, I don't know if this will copy over. Let me see if this will copy over. So for example, it may show, yeah. So this was a student that was writing about, think about an academic interest that inspires you. And so here's the prompt. Think about an academic subject that inspires. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside or outside the classroom. The study of economics and finance aligns with my future career goals. Super boring intro sentence, just to be clear. That is not something that sticks out. And Advika, I'm going to get to your question in a minute. I first took an econ class my sophomore year, and it became my favorite subject. This could have been written by a 5th grader or an 8th grader. I was very interested, no, very interested is boring, no, very interested in microeconomics specifically, and this sparked my interest in the overall field of business. Fluff. Since then, I've been learning more about different fields in business. Fluff. For example, I enjoy understanding what people value and how that plays in real-world markets, supply and demand. These concepts relate to trading. So she's just talking, lots of fluff. Again, this student had a summer program at an Ivy League that specifically taught about business, finance, and stocks. She didn't talk about that yet. She's wasting sentences. So by the time I get to the 4th sentence, I'm like, oh God, I have to read this at 8 o'clock at night as an admissions officer. Like, really? It's painful. And most teenagers write like this. So she's just regurgitating. And it keeps going. It's just more and more regurgitation. And then it just keeps going into, more about what she did. But again, it's regurgitation. Here she talks about, I took a summer course last year. It taught me about this. I was even able to build this. So she's kind of getting there, but it's too slow and it's not interesting. Then she gets into the business internship that she had. So again, she's just walking me through her activity list. So however, this interest was then by an opportunity I received this January. It doesn't really matter. Get to the point. This is a 200-word essay. Where are we going? This year, I was fortunate to have an opportunity for an intern. I don't care about your fortunateness for an internship. You applied for it, you got it. Move on, get into it. So this essay issue is a major problem. Advika, so in the why us essay, you need to write about what qualities and interests you have and how attending the specific college can enhance those. Yes, absolutely. You also need to write about like specific things that the college has that you want to go there for. They don't want to see an essay where it could have been written for every other college. Saying you have an inclusive community and people can do protests and people can share their voice could be written to Columbia, Harvard, MIT, and every UC school, Rice, UT, you name it. It's not clear. This question on the specific essay on an academic subject that inspires you, the student has done great things, great things, but doesn't hit the mark. Here's what I mean by that. Students underemphasize, next problem, extracurriculars. Students underemphasize the unique extracurriculars, even though they do them. So for example, with our mentorship, we mentor students to get published research papers. We get them into the most competitive summer programs. We help them create passion projects, leadership projects, national projects with other students, summer programs, courses, and so forth. But instead, they focus in on things like dance, community service, DECA, HOSA, sports, like everybody else. And the problem is that they've done really cool things, but then they don't even talk about them. It's literally things that they've done, and instead they're writing about other things that are not as great of a topic. And it's unfortunate because, again, they're not focusing in on the things that could have been more powerful when it comes to the topic. So here's a great example. I'm going to show another one. So while this is a good essay, it's not a bad essay, but I'm going to pull it. So describe an example of leadership experience where you positively influenced others, helped resolve disputes, or contributed to a group effort. So this student didn't talk about the research paper, didn't talk about all the other activities they did. And I'm not saying this is a bad one to write about, but they had a lot of other incredible things they could have spoken about. They talked about a community service at a local church food pantry. And I'm not questioning it. I volunteer myself. I volunteer to make sandwiches for kids under the age of 5 that cannot afford food. So I'm not questioning the activity. But when it comes to the college admissions process, this question, you could talk about this and maybe something else. But in this case, she just talks about her ability to speak Spanish. It doesn't really answer the question of if she really has positively influenced others, how she's contributed to group effort specifically. She drones on and on about her experience with this one person that she meets through the food pantry who comes every single month. And it doesn't really answer the topic. And this could have been a really interesting essay about dispute, resolving disputes. She was a leader in another organization where she was at the podium every time for that meeting for an hour, leading business meetings, learning to listen to others, running actual agendas, and hearing differing opinions. That might have been better for this topic. Big problem again, the writing part. Students, again, do not know how to effectively write their essays. So when that happens, again, you have an issue with how the student stands out. They miss the mark. But here's another big problem I see. So sometimes we see students that work with us and parents edit essays after we've worked on them, do not tell us that they've made changes, and then their kids get rejected. I've seen it many times where they change edits or content of the essay, and they get really bad results. And this is a big thing when we have multiple people tampering with an essay, and you end up with essays that are all over the place. I had a student last year who ended up in the hospital due to mental health issues. And what I wanted to do was write a hero's journey story about it. We talked about the challenge. We didn't go too deep into it. And then we moved on to explain how she still got a 14 something on the SAT, how she found herself, how she involved herself in things, and the way she got back up. But when her dad reread the essay later on, and I saw, and his English was, English is not his first language. I could see that he had added a bunch of sentences like in and out of my mind. I was thinking about my grandmother in India and how this would affect her. And I'm like, oh, this is not something I would ever write, nor should this be in a college essay. And his English writing skills were not strong. So it looked like our essay we worked on together, some stuff that really was kind of weird, dark and twisted, and not written effectively, and then the rest of the essay. And so the problem is they can also tell when someone that's like 45 and up is writing, because college admissions writing is different than the way a parent writes, the way an adult writes in general, the way a student writes. There's a way to kind of train the student on how to do this process. But when you have an adult editing it or not understanding the format, you end up with things that totally change up the essay. And I've seen this year and year again. I know other consultants, other people that have seen this where they're shocked when their kids don't get in. We go back through, we look at the version editing, and we realize they've completely changed the essay. I've had students that I've seen that take essays, delete them, and parents like edit completely and start a whole new thing, new topic, new everything. So the real big thing is getting the right coaching and understanding why you hired somebody in the process, and really ensuring that you understand that writing for college admissions is a specific type of thing. And so this is one of the biggest mistakes I see year after year, because it's literally like reading an essay where it's like the student wrote it, parent wrote it, student, parent, student, and it's like an admissions officer can tell when they're like, oh, that's weird sentence structure. Like, that's not how a teenager writes an X, and then it's done. So what I want to do is open it up to any questions that we might have. And what I'd like to do now is, so this is a live Q&A part. So if you want to put any questions in the chat, go ahead and do so. But what I'd like to do as well is talk a little bit about how do we help students in this process and solve the problems that I've shared about today. There's two ways that families work with us: mentorship and college application consulting through our application fast track program. We also help students with test prep as well, but these are our two main things that we focus in on. And in our mentorship, I wanted to share a little bit about what we do specifically. And the reason why I want to share this is because I think so many people are confused. What is mentorship? Why does it exist? Why do people even need it? And I think one of the main reasons why people don't understand is because for most parents, you didn't get mentorship. Most parents didn't have the opportunity to be asked, what are you passionate about? What do you want to do with your life? What are you interested in? And so what ends up happening is so many students walk through high school all the way through not knowing what they really want to do. And so I want to share a little bit about what we do with our mentorship. We offer both group mentorship and one-on-one. And I want to share with you a little bit about what I'm doing personally, because I run my group mentorship and it's the best group. We've got some incredible kids in it, and we are opening up a few more spots for our group. We call it the Genius Network. And these students are really cool, amazing kids. What we're going to be doing this year is we have two things that we're doing. We're doing a capstone passion project where all the students will work together nationally to create a national project. That means that in the college application process, they can write about working with students from California to New Jersey to Texas and how they had a national impact with students, not just their local community, which colleges like to see a larger level of impact. We also are going to make sure that for the honors and awards section, each of our students will have an honors and award. Also, they will have volunteer hour credit from this program as well. I do run Dream Life Foundation, which is my nonprofit. So the time that they work on this project with us is also going to be a nonprofit focused project. That means they also get volunteer hours. And the reason why I'm combining all this together, you're like, whoa, that's a lot that a student can get, is because I reverse engineer things. Remember, I'm the daughter of an IIT engineer. So knowing that kids need more volunteer hours, honors and awards, and ensuring that they have national impact, why not build the project that they need to do together? The second thing we work on is a research paper that is guaranteed published online. This is huge. It's also 24 calls throughout the full year. And this is where students can build a research paper from start idea to finished and published within the year. And they're building it on their passion and interest. We've had students write about AI, psychology, business, comp sci, law, all sorts of different fields. And in their passion specifically, we'll teach them how to come up with an idea, an outline, how to find sources, how to write, and examples so that they get published. We've also seen an increased probability of admissions when you have a published research paper. And then the big thing is you have a private exclusive network of geniuses. Most people don't think about this, but being able to be in a group of students outside of your high school, what I call hungama and drama, is kind of nice. To meet other kids that are top students is amazing. So we do 4 calls per month, typically on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, every other week on Zoom. And in this program, this is really what you get. The capstone project that we're working on for 2024 is very unique. It's called Aspire Ed. This is where all the students are coming together to build what we would call kind of like the Netflix for students by students. So right now we have online platforms like Coursera that get you, ready, Udemy that get you job skill ready. But there's very few platforms for high school students to learn about different fields and know what it is. What is it like? And so each student that is passionate about, let's say, engineering, medicine, activism, comp sci, they will own that in teams and then build out this platform together. And we're also going to be launching a podcast as well. So we're going to build this dynamic, amazing platform, all as a group of students together, where it's really going to build out to help give more accessibility and resources to those that need to know what it is like to build out a career path. So high schoolers are going to be involved in this project and building it. The second is the passion research paper. So myself being from UPenn, I've conducted in-depth research. And so students will get to say that they've worked with someone at a master's level at an Ivy League as their mentor to help them with their paper. So this is really big as well. Oh, thank you so much, Farah. So sweet. Saying these are all awesome. Thank you. Yes, my job is to make things awesome, fun, and easy for you. And the best part to me is the community that gets built. Like our group of students that have joined, oh my God, they're just the coolest kids. And they blossom, which is really fun to watch. Like they start off kind of like introverted and shy. And then 1 year in, boom, everything gets turned on. They've got their paper, they've got their project they're working on. And the big thing is every single one of my summer program, of my students got admitted into their #1 choice summer program. We had students at Georgia Tech, Yale, Harvard, Wharton summer program, and more. And when they went, they got on campus and they learned everything. In terms of the times of the calls, great question. They're all listed here at collegeshortcuts.com under service group coaching. Tuesdays, 6 to 7 Central, Wednesday, 5 to 6 Central. Tuesdays is the project days, Wednesday is the research paper day. Farah, totally get it. A lot of kids are my introverted gamer. We end up shifting that once we find their passion. But that doesn't stop there. I help work through the students with them, with building out their plans, making sure they have the right project, the right paper, making sure they have the right summer planning done. And then the other part too is that we also will fully edit their paper from start to finish as well for them. So who's it for? Just to give you a sense, these are for geniuses. These are top students that are smart, typically top 20%. These are kids that want to go do amazing things. Who is it not for? Kids that don't know what they want to do yet. So that's where I'm going to talk about the other mentorship program we have. Students who don't know how to use a calendar, students who don't know how to show up, students don't know how to check their email. I'm not going to be the type of teacher that like follows up 100 times. That's not my style. This is really for the student that's hungry and driven and like knows how to show up to calls and knows how to log into Zoom. I don't baby my kids. They are hardworking kids. They're teenagers. They know how to do this stuff. So these are kids that know what to do. Typically in a month, how much work is it? It's about 4 to 6 hours, including class time. So not a lot of homework. We do a lot of work in the session itself. So just keep that in mind. It's a total of 48 calls through the year. So it's a pretty strong commitment from start to finish in terms of really getting a lot of time with me. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Super love it. It's awesome. But let's say you have a kid that is unsure what they want to do yet. So we have mentorship one-on-one with students where we help students to really build out their passion. So most students believe the passion just hits them. One day they wake up and boom, they know, oh my God, boom, I want to be a doctor, a computer science, or an entrepreneur. But all of us adults know that's not how it works whatsoever. The way people actually get their passion is exposure, getting outside of their comfort zone and trying things out and testing it. So the one-on-one mentorship program is to help figure out what is the student's passion and potential. So in the first month or two, we work on looking at doing assessments with them, personality assessments, kind of building out their profile, understanding who they are. And then we work into ideation and innovation. We start talking about projects, research papers based on what they've shared about what they might be interested in. We start laying that groundwork. We start bringing those ideas to life, building the project, executing on things, building that research paper, also summer. So a lot of the similar things in group, but in one-on-one, you can select the times in which you want to do your calls if those times don't work for you, or if you want that one-on-one experience. And then also you can really be able to figure out what you want to do. It's really important that that kind of time of figuring out what you want is usually done more one-on-one versus in a group session. And of course, at the end, you'll have your project or paper or both, depending on which customized program you do. And you will make sure you have everything together for this one-year program. So that's what this program is specifically. And again, you can find that on VIP one-on-one coaching here. We start as early as 5th grade. So for our younger students that are in 5th through 7th, one-on-one is recommended first. If you've got an 8th grader that's driven, knows what they want to do, then group coaching can work. I have 2 8th graders that are, they are kicking the 11th graders' butts in my group. So they're pretty smart kids. But 8th through 11th through 12th grade is typically my group coaching. And then when you get to 11th and 12th grade, which a lot of you guys have juniors, we get into application fast track. This is where we will work with your student, getting expert advice they need in admissions. I told you about the problems we've been seeing every single day. This is where we really come in to assist you in the process. The first thing we do is we welcome you. I actually do the initiation call with you, talk about the curriculum, your customized program with us. We have a very organized approach with us on how to do every single step. The first step is growing your top schools list. So we help students to build and expand their list to find an environment they're going to thrive and love. They're leaving your home. You want them to be safe, happy, and really excited in their new environment. And so we want to find, based on their personality, their strengths, their preferences, we use software and experience to talk about what are the best schools that are the best fit for them. We also have a network of over 400 students on campuses live that can interview with your kid to learn about the college. Pretty great resource. Then we talk about the resume and the activity list. We help to develop writing resumes that really showcase what makes your child unique. We make that in a specific order. We check all the words from start to finish. And this really creates a lot of confidence as students really say, wow, I've done a lot of amazing things. And then we walk into the letter of recommendation strategy with that resume. And we figure out who are the people within our network, as well as who are people that we feel are the best fit for specifically really ensuring that my student gets a unique letter of recommendation. So we have strategy around how to do that and how to do it in a way that makes you stand out. And then we also go over interview prep. Like I was telling you, soft skills matter. Saying you love kids is not good enough for an interview question. It's just not. So really understanding how to answer questions like, and maybe you should ask your child these questions today. If I was the admissions officer at your #1 school, what is it that makes you different or unique compared to the other thousands of students I'm going to be interviewing over the next few months? Why should I accept you? Second question. It says you're really interested in engineering. Can you tell me why? What is it about my school, X school name, specifically that you think is a good fit for you? Next question. Tell me more about you. Hardest question, by the way. So interview prep is important. I've seen students that can bomb that section and get rejected. So we prep our students. We actually do mock interviews with them. The next thing, the big part, is number 7 and 8, the essay process. So writing an essay that stands out. We know exactly what college admissions officers are looking for in the all-important college essay. We also know that with all the supplementals, we know exactly what they're looking for as well. We bring these two things together, looking at your kids' lifeline experiences, extracurriculars, and pulling it all together to brainstorm topics and outline for them. The next thing we work on is having them draft their essays, and then we move into the editing phase. We offer unlimited editing so that it is absolutely perfect. This way, our team of editors can really ensure line by line that everything is absolutely perfect. And that's what we do when it comes to the application fast track specifically, because we know that when it comes to applications, it can be one of the hardest parts of the process for students. And the big thing I also want to talk about that I think most people don't know is that when it comes to these supplemental essays, most families believe that the essay process is, oh, I just have to write one main Common App essay. But the truth of the matter is that that couldn't be farther from the truth. Really, the truth is that, for example, I'm going to show you this. This is a 29-page document that's internal. But here's what some of them are. Write a short thank you note to someone you've not yet thanked. How will you explore your community at UPenn? Consider how Penn will shape your perspective and how your experiences will help shape Penn. And then specifically for different colleges, Wharton prepares its students to make an impact by applying business methods and econ theory to real world problems. Please reflect on a current issue of importance to you and share how you hope a Wharton education would help you explore it. Stanford community is deeply curious. Reflect on an idea or experience that makes you genuinely excited about learning. All students live on campus. Write a note to your future roommate. Please describe what aspects of life, experience, interest, and character would help you make a distinctive contribution to Stanford. Rice. Sorry, there's a wasp outside. I thought it was inside. That would have made me freak out. Sorry, I'm back. Please explain why you wish to study your academic study. I'm going to keep going because there's some really interesting ones. Where's the one that I think is the funniest? So these are just some essays, okay? So when students are applying to a bunch of reach schools, they have upwards of 50 essays, and people don't realize it. Here's a great one, University of Chicago. How does the University of Chicago satisfy your desire for a particular kind of learning community and future? Please address the specificity of your own wishes and how they relate to you, Chicago. Here's the ones that are funny. Extended essay, choose one. Where have all the flowers gone? Pick a question or from a song title or lyric and give it your best answer. Vlog, labradoodle, fromage. Language is filled with portmanteaus. Create your own and why these two things are a patch, perfect match. Yeah, anyways, just so you can get a sense, there's a lot of essays. What would you say is your greatest talent? Every person has a creative side. Express. How do you express your creative side? Describe the most significant challenge you've ever faced. This question is actually very hard for most students. They think what they've had is very challenging and it's actually not. So we have to sometimes humble them and let them know. But what have you done and how has this challenge affected you? What have you done to make your community a better place? A lot of them will ask diversity questions as well. Be yourself, everyone else is taken. Introduce who you are. What excites you? Celebrate your nerdy side. Dr. Seuss wrote, think and wonder, wonder and think. As you wonder and think, what is on your mind? Okay, I'm sharing that because I think most parents have no idea that when it comes to the end road, these are the types of inquisitive questions they're asking. And so in the chat, type in yes if you already knew that these were the type of essay prompts, and type in no if you did not know that that was part of the essay. We typically do not share this essay bank. It's part of our internal side. But I'm going to talk about how you can get access to that actually, in terms of next steps with us. Because I think that's a big thing that most people don't realize. Sorry about that. Let me hang up on that call. Okay, so what I want to do is go ahead and share my screen one more time to go through what the next steps with us are. So the next step with us at College Shortcuts is to schedule an assessment. You can do so going to collegeshortcuts.com/apply. Jeff, who's here, and I'll give him a few minutes to speak as well, who's on our team. He's had over 10 plus years of experience. He will actually go through your assessment, talk through everything with you, and really understand what really truly matters. So I think that's extremely important for a lot of families in this process to realize that we do an assessment with every family to ensure first they're the right fit, and second to ensure that we can help you. So in that assessment, we talk about a lot of different things. And what I'd love to do is, Jeff, since you are on the line, I'd love to have you unmute yourself, introduce yourself since you're one of the amazing team members that I have out of the incredible team we have here at College Shortcuts, and just share a little bit about that assessment and what you do with families.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to see all of you, and thank you for all joining this evening. The assessments are really, really very personal to Neha and I, and for the whole company. I mean, I'm a parent. I've got kids that graduated from top 10 and top 20 schools. So when I work with an assessment and when I have these calls, my perspective is really quite unique. It's not just from my expertise in admissions, but as just a parent as well. And there's really nothing that I'm going to leave off the table. My assessments, I may share some things with you that you don't like, some things you don't agree with, but it's always going to be based on transparency, which is what this company is about. And really, on the assessments, I like to go and share a little bit about what Neha just talked about. Make sure that you've got the context of the admissions process, why the assessment means something, what the point of it is, so that when we go over the assessment, we can see where your kids are doing great and maybe where there's some room for some help and how they can improve. So ultimately, how we can come into play to assist. And as Neha said, I mean, our goal is to really do what we can to support you. And we're really not here to pitch you. We really are here to help so that you can make the best decisions that are best for you. I mean, I'm biased. I don't think there's anybody that does this better than Neha, but the job is to let you guys make that decision yourself and give you all the information requisite to do so.
Thank you, Jeff, so much for introducing yourself and sharing what the assessment is. Because what we've seen is that a lot of families learn so much from that one call, and it's more time than their guidance counselor really honestly would ever spend with them assessing all of these details. Wouldn't you say, Jeff? I mean, I know
100%.
that, yeah.
I'm a New Yorker and I don't do caffeine, and I am always running at 100 miles an hour. I absolutely will extract every ounce and every minute out of that time we spent together. That is always a promise.
Totally. Same here, guys. I don't drink caffeine and I work 7 days a week. It's because we love what we do so much that
100%.
we're always juiced, which is amazing. We've got some really good questions in the chat that I'm going to go ahead and take, and I'm going to leave this screen up for you guys so you have the link. I'm also actually going to take it and put it in the chat as well for everybody so that you guys can access it there if you'd like to go ahead and set up a call with Jeff. So just to give you a sense, what would you say makes a good essay? Advika, that's a really tough question, but I'd say the number one thing, answering the prompt. Sounds like a very simple question, answer response, but answering the prompt. The second, following the hero's journey format for specific essays. Third, emotion. Emotion matters, right? Like you want to move the admissions officer. And fourth, a solid hook. Fifth, a solid conclusion. So there's a lot that goes into writing a solid essay, but I'd say those are kind of my top points. Monisha, my son has written some, but we're clueless what level of tone is expected. His tone is very matured. So tone does matter in your writing. And if it's a mature tone or a stoic tone or a boring tone, that's not going to move the admissions office, right? We know a lot of people can be very clueless in how they wrote. I gave some examples of what are some examples of bad essays that we've seen and what we really like to see with our students. And I've kind of given some pointers around that. But I will tell you that getting a set of second eyes on it that do this day in, day out can make a huge, huge difference in the process. So I think that could be very helpful. And I think, Monisha, you mentioned you're out of North Carolina and you have a junior. So I think that could be very helpful. I think the other big thing to think about is, you know, a lot of teenagers that are highly driven really believe that they can do this on their own. I had a student last year, good friend of mine. This friend of mine is known to publish books. So she is a writer, editor. She has done this for tens of thousands of people to write their personal stories and books for adults specifically. And her son did not want to get help at all. Didn't want to get any help with the essays. Didn't want her to touch them. And he kept changing all the way to deadline. Wouldn't submit early, kept changing everything. Didn't get into the schools he wanted. Tried to scramble to apply to more in December. And in the end, just kind of made a whole muck of the process. In our case, when it comes to application fast track, especially if you have juniors on the line, we are currently taking spots right now for juniors. And once those spots are filled, Jeff and I know, like we have a certain number of consultants, we're a boutique agency. We do not have thousands of consultants globally like some of the other competitors out there. Our goal is to ensure that our families get that personalized touch. I'm actually available and I work 7 days a week. This is what I love to do. And so anytime a parent emails me, usually they get a response either within an hour or two. Even last night, I was emailing a parent who signed up for ACT prep with us and needed to get the test prep book sent. And I was doing that myself. Didn't send it over to my assistant. I was doing that at 10:30 last night because I wanted to make sure they had enough time to schedule their first appointment. That's how much I care about this process. And you won't find another CEO running this type of agency with this type of level of testimonials and press really going to the mile that I'm going. Even with, I know other agencies that do what I do that are really large, and a lot of those CEOs are not focused in on each student. So from my perspective, it really is about you booking an assessment for us to find it's a good fit and us really ensuring that we're able to help you in this process. We don't want to work with thousands of students anymore. Our goal is a handful of a few, great students that we can help in the process. We're already pretty booked up. But from our perspective, we really believe that students really need this help. From my perspective, being South Asian, and I'll just share a little bit, like I think that after the Asian American case came out, as we all know from the Harvard Asian American case, if you don't know about it, you can Google it. There were so many things about personality score. There was things about how they judge. And from my perspective, I'm just really trying to make a dent in the admissions process to inspire the next gen so that they feel that they have the right confidence, the right skills, the right ability to say, yes, I can. Yes, I deserve this opportunity. Yes, I can do this. And what's really fun to watch is when that gets turned on for my students. And I see that a lot through my mentorship program, as well as in the application program. I have students that email us years later that say, hey, Neha, I'm still using your resume template and I got a 6-figure job out of Silicon Valley. I'm like, go for it. I'm so glad. Hey, Neha, we used your interview prep for an internship and we got it. Great. These are the types of things we love to see. So I don't want to keep you guys any longer. I really appreciate every one of you staying all the way through. I told myself I'd finish in like 40 minutes, but I just wanted to make sure I had everybody's questions answered. The next step is to schedule some time with Jeff. If you want to go ahead and go there to that link at collegeshortcuts.com/apply, you can schedule your assessment with us. Again, this is a solid time video call with Jeff with an assessment, really getting the details and scores of where your kid is at. Get that temperature check that you can't seem to get at your high school. Whether you choose to work with me or not, that's energetically what's going to happen depending on how you feel about us and what homework you've done. Reading through our site, reading the amazing students we've worked with and everything, that's up to you. But from our perspective, we think the assessment is that next first step. Get a sense of where you're at and where you need to go. Thank you so much for joining, everybody. I hope you had a great call today. And again, if you have any questions, you can, of course, always reach out. Great to see each and every one of you on. Have a good day and evening, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome, everyone. Thanks.